This probably won't be the only version of this letter that I ever post. There are other thoughts that have come to me that I've forgotten because I was driving or doing something else and I didn't have the time to write them down. And I am thinking that I would like to repost this or something along these lines once in a while, every few videos, just to make sure it's not forgotten. Maybe just to make sure I don't forget this very important fact. So I'll read this out as quickly as I can and get on with the rest of my night. You're the fly. Over a year ago, when I was living in Cape May, I decided that I needed to figure out exactly why you were interested in me, Zay, considering all the little flirty messages you seemed to be sending my way. Was it just to shut me up? Keep me from talking about your cult and the evil practices that I suspect you're guilty of? Did you see someone you believed was talented at manifesting? Perhaps an intellect you could utilize for your own purposes? Did you want to use me for channeling energy? Some kind of sex magic? Virginal sacrifice? What? I'd already begun to strongly suspect that most of the obstacles I had been facing were caused by you and your cult. Perhaps you meant it as a double-edged sword kind of tactic. Wear me down and test my resilience at the same time, hoping I would either give up or eventually join you out of exhaustion and or fear for my own life. At that time, I was persevering. I was working full-time, even though it was a job I hated, and a physically, psychologically taxing job at that. I was paying all my bills, taking care of myself, and staying clear of my mother, her quote-unquote help, and her influence. I guess I was impressing you then. Based on what I had already surmised about your cult, I figured that you were likely very survival of the fittest-minded people, and that you would not want me if you thought that I was fat, depressed, and floundering. So I cast a kind of spell on myself. I made up my mind to flounder. It wasn't that hard, really. I just let myself start to take in all the recent traumas I had suffered. I made myself really think about everything that the Thomas Pallone incident implied. Sat with my mother's newest betrayals playing on repeat in my mind. Let them wash over me and settle in for the long stay, instead of just keeping my eyes on the horizon and focusing on getting you caught. Then I began reliving all the old traumas of my past and found fresh ones by forcing myself to acknowledge that it's probably too late for me to have the family I've always wanted. And it was all downhill from there. Although the spell didn't seem to fully begin to go into effect until after you made the offer for me to join you. And now I think I know why. As I said before, a famous anthropologist once told one of her students that the first discovery she recognized as being a sign of civilization was an ancient corpse with a broken femur bone that had healed. This meant that the person had a group of people who truly loved them. They were fed and protected and cared for, even when they had nothing of value to offer the tribe, nothing except for their very existence. The tribe did not simply abandon them to die of their injuries. It was enough for their tribe, their family, that they just were, that they just kept being. That is love. That is humanity. I spent this past year showing you vulnerability, very real depression, misguided words, and the aimless subsisting that comes along with all that. All you seemed to do was sit back and watch. From what I can tell, the most action you took was to send me cryptic messages in videos, more confusion, sneakiness, untrustworthy behavior from your end. You failed to be open and straightforward, which, I shouldn't have to tell you, is what someone needs when suffering from a sense of hopelessness, paranoia, distrust in life and God, and generally feeling like the walls are caving in around them. Essentially, you left me to die, after pretending to have a care for me. I'm not entirely sure what you creatures are, but you have failed to genuinely display even the tiniest spark of humanity. So I'm not sure that I should treat you like human beings at all. Human beings have a sense of self-sacrifice for the greater good, for a cause. What is the hill you're willing to die on, Zay? Who is the person that you are willing to fall on your sword for? Do they even exist? And please don't say it's your children. If that were true, then you wouldn't have abused them in order to fashion them into the same survival-obsessed monster that you are. The monster doesn't know how to fall on its own sword. Like the fly or the shark, all it knows is survive, survive, survive. Be resilient. Be stronger than the other guy. Its mantra is, if I had to suffer these things, then so do you. Like every reptile that abandons its offspring to fend for themselves. Like my mother, telling me that if she had to endure back pain, then I should have to endure it too. Her excuse for waiting 14 years to finally take me to a back specialist. So to reiterate, Zay, you are not the man. You are the fly. Yeah. You're the fly. Sometimes I wonder how closely you all are keeping track of me. Maybe you should expect this in the next edition of the letter. It can't be that closely. Or you would have known that I was repeatedly saying in my little motel room in Cape May Courthouse, fine, let's get fat again. Let's see if they still like me. Let's see if they still want me. When they think that I'm lesser than this. Less impressive. If they find me impressive at all. I remember saying it on several different days, several different occasions. I didn't just think it. I mean, I certainly thought it, but I know I said it out loud too. And yeah, I think I cast a kind of spell on myself. That sort of took over and did its own thing. So, and it feels like I'm beginning to shake it off. I guess I needed to see what you really were, because I was very confused about it. I just wasn't sure. There's something to be said for resilience and surviving, but that can't be the whole point. It just can't be. And when you make that the point, you become the monster. And I think that's a big part of your cult. I think that's what you do, is you make the survival mind the point. You make the surviving and the resilience the point, and that's not the point. I've been listening to these like stupid Alan Watts videos, and I don't know if it's him or AI or whatever, talking about how real healing is done on the inside, and I keep hearing that, and yeah, sure, to some degree it is, and the real healing starts when you're strong from the inside and you find your own sense of resilience and strength, and you look back and say like, I survived, I'm strong. And it's like, okay, well, what now? Are you just going to keep surviving and being resilient, being strong all alone? I guess on to the next relationship, the next job, the next whatever, the next experience. Let's see if you survive that one. If you're resilient and strong, you can make it through that one. So for me, for example, I'll give you a pretty good example. I think it's a great example, but we'll just say it's pretty good at least. I'm so hardcore about the fact that parents need to do their jobs by their children. They need to be they need to be the safety for their children. You know, they need to, because the world is so harsh and mean and nasty. You know, your parents need to be your home base. You need to be able to trust your parents to do what's best for you and to want what's best for you, even at their own expense. That's one of the biggest things that separates us from the reptiles that abandon their kids, you know, when they're still in their eggs sometimes, right? I believe in that so much. I believe that parents should do their jobs by their kids and do them right, that I'm tempted to not survive my mother's abuses and neglect, because that's like sending a message to her that, yeah, no, it's cool that you did all of that. Doesn't matter. I'll still survive it. It's like, no, maybe that should be the hill that I die on. Maybe that should be the sword that I fall upon. Is no, you don't get to just do bare minimum as a parent and actively abuse your child and lie about them in a court of law to save yourself, and violate their human rights and neglect their needs repeatedly because it's too tedious and boring for you to deal with, and then just expect miracles and expect that everything will turn out all right for them in the end. You know, maybe I shouldn't survive for the sake of sending that message. Parents need to do their jobs, or they shouldn't be allowed to have their children. They need to do the work, the real work of taking care of their children properly. And that means you don't abuse them. That means you make sure that they know that they can trust you to do what's best for them, and what's best for them is not abusing them or turning them into a survival-minded monster. What's best for them is not neglecting them. There are other ways of making your children strong without doing those things. And I'd say this, making the kid strong in those cases works maybe only half the time. The other half the time, you know, the kid develops horrible health problems that kill them young, drug addictions and severe psychological issues and kill themselves and so on and so forth. They just don't do well. So clearly it only works like half the time, maybe. But again, I do think your cult is like survival of the fittest minded, right? Will abuse you, and you'll either sink or swim. And that's just disgusting. And there's no humanity in that. It's just monstrous. You're the fly, Zay. You're the fly. And for the better part of a year now, I was thinking maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe he knows better than me. Maybe he's figured something out that I haven't figured out. Questioning myself, second guessing myself. But no, I was right to begin with. You're the fly. You just sat back and laughed at me and waited to see if I would sink or swim. You could have made things clearer to me. You could have given me comfort and a sense of stability and a sense of understanding what was going on. You could have. You had that ability this whole year. You still have it. Again, you might dislike whatever consequences come from that, but you still have the ability and you chose not to do it. So clearly, I'm not the person you would fall on your sword for. I'm not the hill you would die on. I don't think that person or that cause exists for you. I think it's just you surviving for you and inflating your own ego some more and seeing, what's your next achievement and your next achievement and your next achievement? Can I hit this milestone? Can I make this much more money? Just you. And I was stupid enough to think that maybe you liked me or something. And I still don't know why this happened. I'm sure, again, it happened for a reason. I was supposed to cross paths with you, but maybe that was more for your sake than for mine. What's that movie with Christian Bale where they all have to take that pill? And there was that lady in red who had to go into the fire, and that's what it took to wake him up and make him realize how fucking unhealthy their lives were. Like maybe I'm supposed to be that lady, as much as I don't want to be. And I also don't think that it'll make any difference with you. I think you're too far gone. But maybe other people will find this video who aren't as far gone as you are. Maybe it'll make a difference somewhere. So that's why I'll keep reposting it. Well, that's one of the reasons why. Again, I don't think I can afford to forget what you are again. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to end it here and get on with my night.